What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to show you to make a selected style deep house song that's going to be in the style of Kream. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for the tutorial today, I'm going to be going through my song Turn Down the Lights, which I made with another producer named Jimra. And basically once I play you this song, you'll be able to hear some elements that are heavily influenced by Kream. So let me go ahead and play you part of the build into the drop.
I've been having hell of a time. You've been the one that stays on my mind. Maybe the song where we could go, you and I. Turn down the light. Paradise when I close my eyes. Turn down the light. I come alive when I'm by your side. I get a feeling that I can't describe. When you touch me, I get high.
So you probably heard those stabs in there that Kream uses a lot, and then also just the bass, the whole melody and the vibe of the bass is almost tech housey, but it still stays within that deep house genre. So let me go ahead and start going through the track here. So you can see I marked out the track with all these different markers, and then at the end here I have my BPM and key. So 125 B flat minor. Usually for deep house we're talking 124, 125 is going to be the BPM. And we have that intro, we have a verse, build, drop, verse, build, drop again, and then there's a breakdown and then a drop. So the whole song is about 3 minutes long. And then we have this breakdown, which is almost like a bridge part. And the last drop is a little bit different than the other drops. And let me go ahead and just play this breakdown going into the last drop so you can hear it.
When you touch me, I get high. No, I'm a reason, now you're just my type. Hurry up, turn down the lights.
So you can hear that last part is a bit different. We chopped up some of the turn down the lights. That was actually Jimra's idea, and I thought that worked really well for that ending there. So let's go ahead and go start with the drums group. Now, basically, I do a lot of bus processing, usually just a compressor, soft clipping with the K-clip, decapitator, Pro Q, and then auto filter, which I use to filter off different sections, which doesn't look like I actually use it at all. It's just on there. But let's go ahead and look at the kick here. So we were trading files back and forth. So we are bouncing stems, and you'll see that this is just one kick stem. This is the kick. We have a kick top that's going to be for the drop part. No kick in the build, but if we check out the verses here.
I'll be somebody, no lie, no lie, wait.
You can hear that the kick is softer, and then when we just have that top added here to the drop, it helps it stand out a bit more. And then just have a separate track for a bit of a kick build up during that breakdown part, which is like that bridge part that I showed you. Then I have the claps here, just gonna be 2 claps layers. So for that first build, I don't have the layer there. And for the second build, I do. I don't know why I did that or why we did that, maybe just to make them a little bit different. And there's a little clap delay here. Let's check that out in the track. Just like a nice percussion element for that drop. Then these are just going to be some drums for that breakdown here. Some cinematic drums there. We've got this hi-hat here, which is just going to be like a top loop. And if I check it out in the verse and the build,
Say that you want me. I'll be somebody, no lie, no lie, wait.
just add a bit of a groove. And then I have this second hi-hat here. It's going to be like your 909 hi-hat that we have in the drop. So that's really the only hi-hat there. And then I've just got some crashes at the end here, 909 crash, just to end the whole song. Got some shakers that I bring in during the second half of the drop. And these are going to be like your top loop shakers. And of course, I do think, yeah, so I'm using Shaker Box to sidechain these shakers.
I get a feeling that I can't describe. When you touch me, I get high.
And I've got a snare buildup and this snare pattern, which is just going to give a bit of a rhythm to the drop. Just that snare sound. So you can hear that rhythm now, and then the snare build. In almost every one of my deep house selected style tracks, I use this style of snare build up into the drop. I use it pretty frequently, or at least some kind of white noise riser to really get into the drop. And then we've got the pause there. So let's go ahead and listen to the pause. So it's always good to have something that really transitions nicely into the drop. So a lot of times you can cut everything out. There we cut everything out, and then you can hear a bit of a bass drop. So let's see, I think that's all we have for the drums. So let's just go ahead and check out the verse here. So you can hear that everything is pretty filtered. And now let's check out the drop. Not too much going on there. And then the second half of the drop is when I bring in those shakers. And also there's going to be a ride here, which we add to at that second part of the drop. So let's move on to the bass. So for the bass group, the processing, I've got the utility plugin, put everything on mono. I like to use this VC160 for my bass group, using the enhanced EQ, Pro Q, just taking off very, very low end. And I've got the sidechain compressor here with the kick, and then doing some filtering during the end of the drops here. To help it transition into the verse. So these are going to be the bass layers. Let's go ahead and listen to this main bass here. So that's going to be like your tech house style sub bass. Now, when you are choosing a bass for this style, don't just pick a sub bass. You probably need to find a preset that is a tech house style preset. I do have this style in my Serum preset pack, so you can definitely check that out. But it's going to have some of that low to mid range beefiness to it, and that's what makes it give that like tech house vibe to it. And that's going to be layered with this crunch bass. And that's just going to add some more low mid range to that bass. So we've got one that's a bit subby and then one that's a bit crunchier. And then you have your standard growl bass, which you'll hear in just about 80-90% of all deep house songs. So we can listen to all of those together. So that's going to be the bass for the drop. I do have a reef bass for the verses here. That's going to be the intro. Let's listen to the verse here. And that's just going to be layered with an actual sub just to give it some more deep end to the verses there. So we have a reef bass that probably... So as you can see, that really low end is filtered off of that reef bass. So we add some more low end with the sub. And we've already got a pretty beefy drop, so we didn't need to add the sub for that drop. So that's going to be all of the bass. And let me just go ahead and solo all the bass together. And then we could check out the second verse.
You need a lover, get right, I won't look you over.
So there you can hear the bass in the track and also muted. So let's move on to our effects group. Nothing on the bus here. Let's open this up. So I believe a lot of these effects were bounced down. So I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks for the effects. And they're mainly just on this track, and that's going to be from Jimra. And then this is just going to be an ambience for the intro. So we have that one track, and then there's just another white noise riser here for the breakdown. And then I just added another white noise down riser here for the drops. It's going to have that side chaining going on. And that's really it for the effects. Let's move on to the instruments. So let's check out the instruments group, putting the bass into mono, compressor, exciter. I like to use the exciter to add some excitement to the track, give it some more bright end. So I'm using the tube preset here. And this is just on the instrument group. Then I'm using some filtering automation here. So let's see if I'm doing anything. Doesn't look like I'm really doing anything there. Just have it on. Maybe I just forgot to delete it. But then I do have a compressor here for the sidechain. And we've got the vocal ambiances here. So let's check these out. And we can hear those. Say that you want me. In the verses, I've got these stabs here that are going to be in the build-ups. Or at least in the second build-up to give the build-up, that second build-up, a bit more energy. Here's some chords. And these are going to be layered, so let's check out these chords here. So these are probably going to be from Serum or possibly Arturia. I believe I was using some of the vintage synth sounds from Arturia, and I'm not sure what Jimra was using, but usually we were just combining some synth sounds to give them some nice layers and some texture to the overall sound. So there you have like 4 different layers. You have these stabs here. And then the rest of these 3 chords. And here's going to be some more chords. So usually once you have your pattern, your chord progression, you can copy the MIDI and then put it into various synths, various other synths, and come up with different sounds and textures and layers just to give it more of a unique sound than just using one synth. Now we've got the high strings. You got to have your high strings in basically all of your deep house songs. So I can show you where that comes in. So you can hear it gives it some more energy, some more tension when we get into that second drop part. And that's it without it, so it can sound a bit flat if you don't have that high string sound. So always use some kind of high string, just put it in your, if you're doing some type of house track, just find a high string sound and use it, put it somewhere. And so this is going to be the main lead sound of the track, kind of like the motif that goes throughout the whole track, and we just filter it during different sections. And of course, during the drop, it's going to be way brighter. So you can hear when I mute it, you can tell that it's missing. It's pretty central to the whole track. And this is going to be a little transition thing. Kind of like that wub sound you can make in Serum using like an LFO. So you'll hear that a lot in deep house songs, and you can make little transitions with those sounds. And here's going to be some more pluck layers. So let's check out all of these. I'm just going to solo all of them together. I should probably merge them all together anyway. And here's going to be another saw. Maybe went a little too crazy on all the different plucks and synths here, but I don't know, just had fun with it. So let's just check out, I'm going to solo all of the instruments here, and then maybe we can hear all of the instruments together. And let's start with just the verse. And now the build up. And the drop. And there you'll hear the most important element, which is going to be those cream stabs. So let's go ahead and check out those cream stabs. They're going to be at the bottom here. These are the cream stabs. It's 2 layers. Let's check out this layer here. And this layer. So that's going to be like an element that you'll hear in just about every Kream track. That's one of their signature elements, is they use these saw wave stabs that have a lot of reverb on them. They're very detuned and they're very attack, like they have a lot of attack and kind of like hit really hard. So that is basically what I think of when I think of a Kream track, is when I hear those stabs. So let's move on to the vocals now. So for the vocals, I have the VC 160. This is going to be on the bus. Pro Q3, taking a lot of the low end out. Pro DS, Fresh Air. Sooth 2 in the Pro C2. So let's go ahead and open this up and check out the vocals here. A lot of editing on the vocals. I edit my vocals a lot. I'm basically like mainly a vocal producer. That's my main thing, pretty good with vocals. So a lot of editing with the vocals here, just cutting out breaths, making the S's, just manually lowering the S sounds and breaths. So that's why you see a lot of these edits and just cutting out some of the silences. Let's go ahead and solo the vocals. Paradise when I close my eyes, turn on the light. So that part's actually going to be sidechained, and I'm sidechaining it on the bus here. I'm using the Pro C2, and I'm sidechaining it to the kick group to have those just vocals pump during the drop there. And his vocals, I mean, they're pretty interesting. They almost sound like they are very electronic sounding. So I don't know, pretty unique vocals just in general, without a lot of the processing. And then you put on the processing and then they start to sound also kind of like more electronic. So VC76, VC2A, Pro Q3, CLA vocals, Sooth 2, Pro DS. And then I've got my effects here. So this is going to be my reverb echo boy for delays, things like that. So that's going to be the lead vocal. And then we, at the end, chop these up here. So that's what that is there. And I believe there's some harmonies down there, some doubles, things like that. These are going to be like vocal effects that were from Jimra. I just bounced them down to one track. Like ping pong delays. So a lot of times I'll just cut a piece of the vocal, put it onto a new track, and then put 100% wet with a ping pong delay or something with a lot of reverb. And these are going to be ad-libs here. Wet ad-libs. And you can kind of hear them subtle in the track there. And we've got some woes here at the end. Just to end out the track there. And we've got some vocal reverbs. These were from Jimra. I just put them on a new track and lowered the level a bit. And then we've got some reverb for the end. So see, I'm putting all the effects on different tracks instead of just putting the plugin on the actual vocal and adjusting the dry and wet knob. And these are going to be the doubles, and lots of editing on the doubles. So I'm cutting out a lot of S sounds like sibilances, because you don't want all these S sounds to build up and then be unable to control them with a Pro de-esser, de-esser.
I get a feeling that I can't describe. When you touch me, I get high.
So yeah, it almost sounds like he has a very strong lisp there, but that's just because I'm cutting out basically all the S sounds. This is just going to be some harmonies, probably some simple processing there. So yeah, not too much processing there. And we've got the vocal intro here. And then the octave track here.
I'll be somebody, no lie, no lie.
And so let's just go ahead and solo all the vocals together.
I'll be somebody, no lie, no lie. Wait, I'm feeling lonely. I need your body tonight. I've been having hell of a time. You've been having comes to my mind.
And let's check out the drop.
Paradise when I close my eyes. Turn on the light.
And let's check out the ending.
Turn down the lights. Turn down the light. Oh, oh, oh. Turn down the light.
Lots of ping pong delays going on, lots of reverb. I think with deep house, you can get away with using a lot of reverb, so making your vocals pretty wet. Using things like ping pong delays will give them some more width and make them a bit more interesting than using just a straight like delay down the center of the mix. So that's going to be the vocals. And of course, I tune all of these in Pro Tools before and do editing in Pro Tools before I even get them into the session. So vocals do take a lot of time to get them to fit right in your track. So let's move on to the master now. So the master, I've got the solid bus compressor and just doing a ratio of 3:1, very light compression there, slow attack, K-clip for soft clipping. And let's just check out what I did for the Pro Q, just straight up brick walling the low and top end there, and a bit of a mid-range boost. Got the ozone exciter for excitement. I like to use that just to give the whole track some more excitement. We've got the vitalizer, just using the stereo expansion knob. That's what I like to use instead of just like the imager by Isotope. And then I've got the Pro L2, so I'm using the EDM aggressive and tight. Oversampling, I'll usually do like 4x, but I took it off just for this tutorial so I could have some more CPU power while doing this and recording this. So that's gonna be it for my Kream-inspired track, Turn Down the Lights. I hope that was helpful. I went through it pretty quickly, so if you do have any questions, please post them down below. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please consider subscribing to my channel. If you do want to grab any Serum preset packs, I'll put links down below for those. And also, if you do want to join my Modern Mix Academy, this is going to be a full online mixing course that will help you make some of the best mixes of your life from the comfort of your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.